Hello, beloved. How are you doing? It is I, the one that is continuing the series on decolonizing Christianity. So, welcome to the series on decolonizing Christianity. Today, we are going to be addressing the, bias and lack of biblical truth in terms of Jesus's message, in terms of reflecting on divination, tarot, psychics, mediums, okay, and that of the sorts. So I come to you today to let you know and to say to you that I ask that you have an open heart, you have an open mind, and you ask yourself one thing before you start this. If Jesus was to be here today, right? And he was performing the miracles in which he performed, would you be quick to label him a witch, a warlock, and a wardrobe? But you know what I'm saying. Would you be quick to condemn him as a false prophet? Will you be quick to label him as the work of the devil? You have to understand who Jesus was. I'm going to say it right now. If he paid the price, if he came for new life, why the fuck are you in the Old Testament? His sacrifice has been paid, right? So these laws, the laws that Jesus came to combat, don't apply to those who claim to walk with Christ. So get your head out of Leviticus, get your head out of Deuteronomy, and get your head out of the parts of the spirituality that are colonial, that are evil. I'm feeling guided to call this evil because they instilled the spirit of fear and shame and judgment and separation. And this, to me, is the work of evil. If you are looking at Jesus's message, you will understand that he was here to unify. Loving thy neighbor was one of his most important commandments. It wasn't loving thy neighbor on certain conditions, and it wasn't not understanding your neighbor. Love rejoices in the truth. Love rejoices in the truth. So it's about really, truly having a heart-to-heart understanding on who it is that you live amongst. It's not about separation. And I tell you right now that the Hebrew religion mimicked many Canaanite documents. In fact, my ancestors, the Canaanites, believed in one ultimate God called El, whom was married to Asherah. And many of those stories were taken by the Greeks and made into the Greek mythology that you see today. So it's not a coincidence that the Israelites came in and went from El to Elohim. This is very important. And then we're able to move on as we go into more of the Abrahamic religions, which is Islam, and you say Allah, 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 Allah. There is this connection between us all. And it's important for us to decipher what is the work of the lower dimensions and what is the work of the truth, what is the work of the highest dimensions. And I'm going to tell you something. Some of you are so afraid to expand your spirituality out of fear to live freely under the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, that you would rather conform to the laws that weren't centered in anything that Jesus taught. And let's also remind you that everything was a recount of Jesus that was written and made years, decades after his resurrection. Correct? So knowing this, it's important for us to look at the apostles as well in the New Testament with understanding that these were men with opinions. If you don't like the church that you go to, what do? You find the church that works for you. It is like subscribing to every pastor on this earth as the way, the truth, and the life. When you subscribe to the New Testament as pure truth, you have to read between the lines. You have to allow the spirit of discernment to move you, to guide you. So, this is a little cultural context. In 1st century Judea, which was before Canaan, so let's be very clear that this was also a work of colonization. Just because it's ancient doesn't mean it's not harmful, okay? So in 1st century Judea, accusations of witchcraft or magic were political and religious weapons used to discredit prophets or healers. Jesus avoids that framework entirely. He doesn't condemn magicians or diviners. He focuses on inner purity, mercy, and authenticity. So I say to you now that you may have labeled Jesus as a spiritual practitioner that works with the devil if you were to see him today. And when I'm speaking to people who are rooted and grounded in Christianity. If you're here just to be here to gain insight, I'm so grateful that you're here. But just know that I am addressing the modern day Christian, okay? There are no sayings of Jesus in Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John that refer to divination, witchcraft, sorcery, omens, astrology, necromancy, or magic by name. He never condemns, approves, or even discusses them. You know why? Because he is making sure that he is being where he is needed. It's important for us to authentically pour into our lives and into the lives of others. We are healers, we are practitioners, and me being a psychic medium is no different than some people that you claim in the church to have the gift of prophecy. I use Bible verses and tarot cards. You use just Bible verses. So it's about understanding that we are more connected than we are separate. And if you claim to be a follower of Jesus, then you understand that there is no reason for you to be sitting around in worry, in fear, in shame for the spirituality that you desire to practice or that your bloodline has practiced. There is nothing evil. There is nothing evil about divination, prophecy, and spiritual practitioners. I mean, of course, there are some people that are going to be bad representation or do things incorrectly. And I ask you, has your pastor ever done wrong? So it's about understanding and growing with one another, okay? It's about being open to the fact that we have been controlled by the empire and the law for so long that we have been convinced that the magic that is our nature is actually divinely touched and in co-creation with God, with the divine. Our blessings, our gifts are given to us from the divine, and we don't have to fear them. We can recognize that our gifts are given to us so that we may experience freedom here on earth, so that we may experience goodness here on earth. We don't need a man in a pinstriped suit selling us freedom when we can find it inside ourselves. Jesus speaks about not seeking for signs, right? And some of you may misinterpret this and take this as, people looking at angel numbers and whatever. But really what he's speaking to is that people don't need to have miracles happen every day to know that God is with them and cares for them. It's not a rebuking of looking for signs or looking for, it's about walking in faith. And that's something that he always touched on, is having faith in what is to come. That doesn't mean that questions went unanswered. There are so many people that came to Jesus that had their questions and their issues answered. They were looking for a sign, they were looking for direction, and it was granted. So I don't want to encourage you to believe that spirituality of all sorts is evil. If you claim to be a Christian, you claim to be a follower of Christ, then you have to understand that you cannot live in the law that was before his coming. If you believe in salvation and freedom, then you need to move and act like it. You have to understand it and to know it. You have to understand it and you have to know it. It's also very important for us to understand and know just what is the nature of the flesh and what is not good for us and what is good for us. We don't want to be so full throttle in accepting ourselves that we start to tolerate a bad behavior from ourselves. And I tell you this story now because I'm being vulnerable. I am a spiritual practitioner. I had somebody approach me yesterday asking me to work in the realm of the spirit to cause a miscarriage for the person that they are dating so that they do not have to have a child. And I said, absolutely not. Because I am just a spiritual being. I can make it happen, but karma will always collect. I am not going to be moving in the way of nature. I am here for guidance. I am a practitioner. I am also a healer. I am a prayer warrior, etc. But I am not God, and I don't claim to be. This is very important. I'm not God, and I don't claim to be. So I am not going to get in the way of the cause and effect of your actions. I told this person, if you don't want to have children anymore, then you need to stop coming in women. And that is the truth. If you don't want children, stop participating in baby making. Correct? And so it's really, really important that I speak on this and I share this, that it's about being right-sized. And I say to you as well that Jesus was one of us, an enlightened spiritual practitioner who rebelled against the religious law, the religious norm, and the greed of those who were in power of the government and religion. He was not hanging out with the pastor and the first lady. He was hanging out with the person in the back that the church won't even welcome with open arms, that give them side glances and judgment. Jesus was not up there with the presidents of the country. He was not up there with your fave on TV, your fave in music. He was in the trenches, so to speak. And so it's really important for us, and for me as well, as I plan and I continue to do this work, to remember to have humility. That the answer is oftentimes found in the very thing that we reject. And rather than being shamed and guilted into following a law as if it is God, we can recognize that that shame and that guilt is using God's name in vain. It's putting a wrathful, a hateful, a fearful God before the true God, the Most High. If there was needing to be adjustment, and that is why Jesus came, then start adjusting. I say this with all the love. I wish you best, and I ask for Jesus Christ to bless this message. Talk to you soon.